Nah. Built to last. Built to last.
Greetings. It is Thursday, November 11th, 2021. You are watching Legit Fantasy Basketball. If I look familiar, it is because I am, because I just hosted Legit Fantasy Football. So it's a double shift for the genius on this Veterans Day. So I'm going to need all the help I can get. And when I need help, I bring in the coach. Coach TJ, how you doing tonight?
How are you?
Exhausted.
That football show, a lot of work tonight?
A lot of work, last minute stuff. M1, who one of the legit guys. He is a veteran. He and I work very well together. It was a good show, and he got to kind of talk a little bit about being in the service and all those different things.
Difficult.
So it was good. Oop, I think you are frozen. Oh. Yeah, I think the coach is frozen. So that said, I do want to thank all the veterans for their service from the Revolutionary War up to today. It's all I have is respect and admiration. One of those things that I don't think I have empathy or empathetic feelings for it because I've never done it. I don't believe in empathy. I don't think I can ever understand the sacrifices that you men and women make. But I do appreciate it, and I do thank you for it, and I do respect you for it, and that's it. I'll leave it at that. I hope the coach is trying to reconnect because he has dropped off completely. That said, Thursday night we got a couple of games tipping off a little bit later, than normal. We might talk about that. A little bit. We got Indiana, Utah. That's tipping off a little bit later tonight, and we have Miami and the Clippers tipping off also. So we'll get into kind of picks, some picks on those games. But also, I want to hit a couple of the bigger news topics. I want to talk about the Jokic brothers versus the Morris twins, and I also want to talk about Ben Simmons. So let me. Oh, hold on. Let me get coach back on.
I think we coach. Put it out.
Yeah, you're back. So while you're going, I did about 30 seconds on thanking veterans from the Revolutionary War up to now. All I was admiration and respect. So I don't know if you want to say anything on that subject before we get in.
No, I mean, I like Veterans Day. I like Veterans Day more than I like Memorial Day because you can thank a veteran right to their face, and you can call a veteran. We all know people who have served, and it's a day where you can reach out to them as opposed to Memorial Day, which isn't. So if I have to pick between the two, this one's good. I'll tell you what did happen to me on Veterans Day today, though. I watched Clifford the Big Red Dog. Are you familiar with the new movie? Clifford the Big Red Dog.
I'm familiar with the concept and the books, and that's it. I'll leave it at that.
They made a movie about Clifford the Big Red Dog. It was terrific. If you have kids, go to the movie. I'm going to endorse Clifford the Big Red Dog. I was very impressed by the movie today. How
could that possibly be?
It was good. I don't know how they made this gigantic dog. I don't know how you make a dog an actor. It wasn't like the dog spoke or anything, but it looked and moved real. I don't know, man. These Hollywood people, I'm looking for my Dipset. These Hollywood people are so creative. They really are. But it was a good movie. My 4-year-old, it went by quick. He didn't get restless. It was awesome. So we had fun today on the day off. Football, big night in football tonight. I wish I got to jump on the podcast. I wish I wanted to help you out. I got held up, but I wanted to talk to Master Domus about Lamar Jackson because that's like his guy. And
yeah. And obviously, we're talking basketball. Obviously, the basketball show, but you and I had a little back and forth on Derrick Henry. Now, we'll never know what exactly caused his foot injury, but the dude was on a pace for 500 touches this year. 500. That's like unheard of. It's unheard of in today's NFL by like 100%. It's also unheard of in 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s NFL. 500 touches has never happened before.
And he takes it's not 500 touches on the outside and he's jogging out of bounds. I mean, it's 500 touches. He's between the tackles most of the time. It's a shame.
It is because like I love running backs. Like that's always been kind of the position. My favorite position. It's what I as a young teenager, that was my spot. But like every time he takes a handoff, he's like in a mini car crash. And the other thing with him, which is crazy that he bought into this, is Derrick Henry gets stronger as the game goes on. So if you've only given him 22 carries in the third quarter, those next 5 might each be worth 40 yards. So he never ever comes off. You can't even say, look, we tried it 22 times, it didn't work. No, we got to get him to 27. We got to get him to 26. We got to get him to 29. It's absolutely nuts. I love the guy. I can't believe his longevity is where it's at, and I hope he comes completely all the way back from a joint fracture of his foot and continues to prove me wrong.
Yeah, me too.
So, all right. So anyway, so switching gears to the NBA. All right. So there's 2 games that haven't tipped off yet, and one is Indiana at Utah. Indiana is a 10.5 point. Sorry, they wish. Utah is a 10.5 point favorite. Over under is 216. Now, this game scares me because Indiana's not a bad team. Utah is obviously a regular season juggernaut, but I have not bet this game, and I don't think I will. Like, do you have any kind of lean on this one?
If I, gun to my head, if I'm here to make a pick, I would take Indiana with the points. Indiana, they don't have a great record, but they keep every game close.
Yeah.
Like, they're not the kind of team that gets blown out of the building, although Utah is the kind of team that will blow you out if they can. So I would take the points. That's a big number. I mean, you got no TJ Warren tonight. Indiana's on like the 4th game of a road trip right now, but they lost a tough one to Denver. They lost a tough one to Portland. I don't know. If they show up, this might be a game where if you're going to bet at halftime, because you'll know if Indiana's already if it's a getaway day and they're already like on the bus, you might know that by halftime. But to me, I would take the points.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that's a good call. Like, really watching it a little bit and bet on the second half. Now, you reminded me because I want to say this a little earlier. So there were 13 games in the NBA last night. I bet almost every one of them. And like for this show, I was going to kind of go into my process a little bit, but I'm going to skip that. But I bet almost all of them. It was not a great night, but towards the end of the night, my girlfriend sat on the couch and she's like, "Hey, you stop playing a game on TV or like on your phone. Let's watch one," which to me was one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. So I'm like, cool. So we got the Lakers and the Heat, and great game. I was I had bet the over under. I had not bet aside because I was worried about it. But my favorite part of that whole game was Coach LeBron, and because like Veterans Week, he's in fatigues, and he's storming up and down the Lakers bench. And Ashley goes, "Is he the coach?" And I'm like, no, Frank Vogel's the coach. And she's like, "Well, where is he?" And I couldn't find Frank Vogel. So he's sitting down, and LeBron is grabbing the refs, like talking directly into the ear of the refs. He's clapping. He's rallying his team. And Frank Vogel is just sitting there. It was absolutely hilarious. It was one of the funniest things I've seen recently in basketball, because the fact that no one on the coaching staff stood up and said, "Hey, dude, you're inactive."
Yeah.
Like your spots, see the end of the bench, like that's your spot. But instead, he was he looked like he was coaching the team. just totally cracked me up. I don't know if you saw it, but it was awesome. It was amazing.
As a coach, that would make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't mind some leadership. I actually want leadership from players that are on the team. You get a different kind of leadership from a player than you're going to get from the coaching staff. But I'm not sitting down so a player can talk to the refs. Like, that's just not something that's going to happen. And I can see why, because LeBron, for all intents and purposes, he's almost like in the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning mold of like, he's really a coach on the field. He's a coach on the floor. We all know he's calling the plays. He's not looking at Frank Vogel for advice on what set to run, right? That's just not a thing that's happening. But I think LeBron's place should be on the floor. And when talking to a ref, that used to be like an automatic tech. Like players on the bench can't talk to refs. They feel like automatic. And
an inactive player,
right?
Like
he's a fucking fan at that point. Like, yeah, but look, it just goes to show you, just like everything else, LeBron can do, say, and get away with whatever he wants to do, say, and get away with, because he is, and there's no one behind him. He's the most marketable guy. He's the face of the league, and Steph's 30-something. Like, when that group, they're gonna have to force someone into that role. Like, they're going to have to force feed us the next guy. Notice they tried to do it with Kawhi, and they're trying to do it with Giannis, but there's no natural fit as who's the next guy. So they're trying to milk LeBron. He can do no wrong in that league right now.
Yeah, you're right. Like, that's a really good point, because as the Jordan years were petering out, that they were trying to do the same thing. They were like trying to find like the next guy. And like, the weird thing is, you can't force that on anyone. Like, they have to want that. Like, I don't think Giannis is amazing, and I think he would probably be my pick. But the fact that part of being Giannis means you're not that guy.
Right.
You're playing in Milwaukee. You won a championship. You did all these amazing things, and you tell everyone else, I don't want a super team. I don't need anything. Like that's not going to be the guy. So good luck. You can't force it on us. Like that person has to emerge. In my opinion.
Major League Baseball tried to do it with Mike Trout. They started sticking him on every commercial they could find. You got to have the personality. It doesn't hurt like that. You have a cool nickname, right? Like it's easy. King James just kind of fit right from the beginning. You can't just market someone to the point where everyone thinks he's the best player in the world. He has to be the best player in the world, and then he has to be your most marketable guy. And that's why you see LeBron. I mean, LeBron's weighing in on court cases this week that he shouldn't have on, because he probably can't spell lawyer.
He should have kept his mouth shut. Yeah.
He's got the China thing going on. Like, any other guy would be sat down in the commissioner's office and say, dude, get off this stuff. Like, you're not, Jesse Jackson, like, stop. But they won't do it to LeBron. They'll let him coach the team. They'll let him. LeBron could probably go suit up for the other team at halftime, and they wouldn't even say shit. They'd be like, "Oh, LeBron decided he's going to play a second half for Phoenix tonight." The commissioner has no comment. We'll revisit in the future.
All right. So we're going to move past that. The last thing I will say is, if you're Frank Vogel and LeBron is talking to the refs while you're sitting on the bench, like, before the game tips off, do you just like put your nuts in like a little Ziploc bag and, I don't know, give them to the scorekeepers or your wife or somebody to hold them? Because I couldn't handle that. Like, I would have, I say I would have, I don't know LeBron. I probably wouldn't have, but I would have wished that the head coach would have stepped up and said, you know what? I got it. It's under control. I got it.
I can see something like this happening in like a summer league game or even a preseason game where it's like, I'm going to let my captain coach the game. Like, I don't know that I've done that, but I could see myself doing that in a summer league. Being like, hey, Ty, coach the second half, and I'm going to sit here and we'll see how much you like it. I could see myself doing that kind of stuff. But Frank Vogel's job description, if he wants job security, is make LeBron like me and keep liking me. Because it doesn't matter what the Lakers' record is, because all Frank Vogel is being evaluated on is whether LeBron enjoys being on the same bench with him. And I really believe that. Like, he tells LeBron to go sit his ass down. Frank Vogel is looking for a job by this morning. and he knows it, and LeBron knows it. And the NBA officials know it, and everybody knows it.
Awful. Awful. All right, so we're gonna move off LeBron. I don't know how we got on LeBron, but we're gonna go to the second game of the night, which is Miami at the Clippers. Clippers are laying 5. Over under is 211.5. I have not seen if Jimmy Butler is going to be active because he sprained his ankle last night against the Lakers end of the first quarter. But Miami getting 5 at the Clippers. It's the second night of a back-to-back for Miami. Clippers should be arrested. Any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean the Clippers seem to have found their groove right now. I don't know how many they won in a row, but it's got to be 4 or 5 games in a row. They haven't lost in a while. You got no Jimmy Butler tonight. That's official. You got Miami on a back-to-back, and 6 points isn't that much. I feel like this one to me is Clips at home and Miami, licking their wounds a little bit. It's a tough stretch. That's a tough stretch. That Lakers Clippers back-to-back is that's the schedule maker didn't do you any favors when they gave you those two without a day off.
That's a tough one. So I know tonight's not the night we get into teams. That's usually Monday, but Clippers, I do like their identity a little bit. Like Paul George, this could be a good stretch for Paul George, like the end of the playoffs last year and like this season. But I just worry, like, is Kawhi actually going to show up this year? I don't think anybody can know that. So how do you predict the Clippers without being able to predict Kawhi?
I don't think you do. I think when I'm evaluating the Clippers, I'm just thinking about how far can Paul George carry a team. And, people forget when he was coming up, Paul George was messing around with first-team All-NBA stuff. Like, Paul George is a great player. He's legit. He had a couple injuries that maybe dropped him off the radar. I mean, to win the finals, they probably need both of them, but I think you can go. I mean, the Clippers are showing you right now, you can go farther with Paul George than you can go with Dame Lillard, everyone's favorite freaking top 75 player. I think Paul George is a better player, and therefore I think the Clippers will finish off better than Portland.
Yeah. All right. So tonight for this game, Miami at Clips. You're saying go with Clippers laying 5 without Jimmy. Yeah. All right. I'm actually going to try to get that bet in right now. Let's see. I'll let you know what the line is. Okay. So those are the only 2 games that haven't tipped off yet tonight. Brother Ray actually, believe it or not, sent me his picks for tonight. Let me just look very quickly. This is live broadcasting. Brother Ray says Utah and the Clippers. I think so. We disagree on the Utah pick, but we agree on the Clippers. All right, so that's it from games that haven't tipped off for the evening. But what I wanted to move to now is a couple of news stories that I absolutely freaking love. I love the Jokic stuff. I'm sorry, I do. Serbia. So now I'm hearing before we get into every little the details of the event. People are starting to say, Jokic's always been a dirty player. He's a flabby Serbian who won MVP. How could he not be dirty?
I mean, I don't like the word dirty, though. He's just a physical player, and we don't have those in our league anymore. So just by being a physical player, they're just going to call you dirty? Is that what it is? Have you ever heard of being called a dirty player before? No. I haven't. I heard Marcus Smart's a dirty player. I mean, you hear guys like Chris Paul, Jokic. I don't know.
Oh, have I heard Jokic called a dirty player before? No, I haven't. That was the whole thing. It was this isn't new. We're gonna tell you the truth now. Jokic is kind of a dirty player, and I don't really believe it. I think the whole thing is hilarious. So. What actually happened, and I don't, unfortunately, I don't have the timeline in front of me. So, Maurice Morris pushed him, and
the next morning, let's stop right at that first point.
Well, what happened in the game?
All right, so and it was at half court. Jokic was making some kind of a long pass, some kind of pass, vanilla play in the game, and Morris give him a cheap shot, like he did. Yeah. So the next morning, I texted.
Well, no, wait. Jokic that responded.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay, go ahead.
I text the dude, and I'm like, "Did you see the Jokic play?" And his first response is, "Morris has had that coming for 10 years."
Wait, who said that?
Some coach that me and him kind of have a running dialogue.
Okay.
So apparently, the Morris brother. This is Markeith, I think.
Yeah, Markeith. It is.
this guy's a dirty player as well. So that anyway, after Jokic gets pushed, he's like exit stage left, right? Because the camera follows the ball and no one cares. He got a running start, Kevin, just laid him out. Like, that's a 15-yard penalty. Unless you're the Bears quarterback, then they don't call shit. But that was like a 15-yard penalty, running start, laid him out. And yeah, I can't believe he only got one game. Like, I can't believe it. Like, I thought that was going to be a 5 game or 10 games. Because it wasn't a basketball play, and the guy didn't see it coming. So he pretty much ran at him and like knocked him out. It was crazy.
So that happens. Now, after that, I guess I don't know if it was the Morris player or his twin brother. They start getting into a little bit of a Twitter feud with the Jokic brothers, who look like look. I live in New York. You live in Rhode Island, and we're familiar with ethnic groups that may band together to protect certain interests that could be in legal gray areas, and they might have some organization to them also. So the Jokic brothers look like they might or could be involved in that kind of lifestyle.
They look like 2 hitmen for the Russian mob. Like,
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
First of all, they're Serbian, so I don't know anything about the organizational structure of the Serbian people and what they do within their communities. I don't know, but they are Serbian. Those guys look like freaking Bond villains.
Yeah, oh, they're great.
They're perfect. They're like, the casting is unbelievable of these. If this was a movie, it would be a little far-fetched, but those are the 2 guys you would cast to be the brother of the NBA player. Like, those are the guys. Like, you would want those guys. And with like some 80s style black leather and like they look like they haven't smiled in a generation. Oh yeah. Right after it happened, the Miami guys didn't really know. It happened so quick that guys didn't know how to take it. But Jimmy Butler's like Jimmy Butler wanted to fight him in the dressing room, and you can see him like,
yeah,
But these
that's the other part I heard.
Everyone back and forth on Twitter is great because these guys, you know what they did today? They bought tickets.
Yeah,
they bought tickets to the next time those 2 teams play, which is crazy.
It's crazy, but okay. So a couple of things on what you said. Number one, he actually did approach the dressing room.
He did,
which you can't do that. You're professional athletes. You can't. So security back that down. But you can't do that. You're still like Jimmy Butler. You guys are getting paid. Obviously, you're all across the pay spectrum, but there's a few of you in that crowd that are getting paid more than $10 million a year, and you're knocking on the Denver door. So number one, that's insane. The second part that's insane is that the Jokic brothers are bragging that they bought tickets to, I think, the Clippers game, the Nuggets Clippers, because that's who Morris's brother plays for. And I'm like, what else would you guys be doing? You are your brother's muscle. Mm-hmm. Here. It's the best story, and like I just hope the NBA doesn't F it up. I hope they just let it run. Nobody gets killed. I just hope they let it run for a little while.
I hope it's a lot of posturing and drama. I don't think anybody wants to see like any kind of violence or anything like that.
Yeah.
Let it play out. Don't step in. Don't say a word. Don't say because the people most people I think are amused by it more than anything else, right?
Yeah. It's the best.
It's almost like if you're watching you ever see a movie where there's like point shaving going on and the guy's got to miss the kick or he's got to miss the free throw, and you look in the crowd and here are the two muscle men are waiting there like, miss this free throw, we're breaking your fingers. That's what it must be uncomfortable. Those guys, you're gonna know who they are. They're massive men.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're massive, and they dress like what you'd expect them to dress, like puffy coats, like all this, like all the ridiculousness of what a Eastern European gentleman who might make his living collecting money from other gentlemen should look like. Like that, I love it. I absolutely. That's my favorite story of the NBA right now.
It is. It's great, and it's kind of cool also that the teams only play each other twice a year. So it's not like it's going to be an ongoing drama, but it's going to give us like some good content and something to look forward to in a game that otherwise no one would really give a shit about. Like, who cares when Miami plays Denver? It just happened.
Yep. Oh, and the last thing I want to say about it is some of this drama went on Twitter, and the Yogi brothers. I can't even say this stuff out loud. That this is actually happening. Created a Twitter called Yogi Brothers. And verified it as their actual Twitter, and they were going back and forth with the Morris twins. It's unbelievable. It's probably the best story of the year so far, and like I said, we get to talk about it maybe one more time.
I hope it stays on Twitter, because some of these, the NBA doesn't need a story like that. They really don't need a story like that, like the Malice in the Palace type story. We don't need anyone getting shot in parking lots. Like, we don't need any of that kind of stuff. Let these guys make fun of each other on Twitter. Hopefully it stays like that. And then it'll be interesting to see when the teams match up. But awesome story.
Yeah.
It really is.
And hopefully what happens when they match up, when Denver plays the Clippers, Jokic just like hugs the other guy and just like ends it. And when Denver plays the Heat again, they just like hug and end it. But like, let the drama run. Like let it run, because like, Serbians are freaking hardcore.
That stuff usually does fade on its own. I mean,
yeah,
in the heat of the moment in that game, and then you're going to go play 11 other teams between now and then.
Yeah.
And you got a job to do, and then you're going to get there. How mad can you stay mad? Like, how long can you really stay mad at somebody?
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I hope it plays out. But we couldn't not talk about it because it's phenomenal. All right. Next story. I'll defer to you if you want to talk about it at all. Just still this like drama with Ben Simmons. Like, can anyone just talk some sense into this guy? Like, not only is he ruining his career, how do I say this? Another team, everyone's going to be suspect with him forever, because like, why would I trade for you if you might do this again? And if Boston ever gave up either Tatum or Brown, I'd probably never watch another Celtics game again. But the latest developments are still like, he shows up at the practice facility, he plays one-on-one with I forgot the guy's name. He does like some one-on-one stuff, and it's all just this complete mess. I don't know if you want to talk about it at all, or you just want to move on.
No, but I'll talk about it. I'll just say this. First of all, the kid Maxey, who's got 18 tonight, is really coming into his own. And it's getting to the point where we don't need you anymore. We don't want you around.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing is, he's not good enough to be this guy. Like, Randy Moss was a weird dude. When he stopped being good, no one wanted Randy Moss anymore. Like, you're not that good where you can be a total head case and a distraction. Like, we all know what you are. And other teams, why would you bring this guy who now it seems like he's like mentally like there's something not right up there. You got to be good to be a nutcase in the NBA. Like, Dennis Rodman can be a nutcase because Dennis Rodman getting 20 rebounds a night. Like, you can't be a nutcase and beat Ben Simmons at the same time and think some team is gonna build around you. Like, it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. See, and that's the part that's like the critical piece of the whole thing. Like Rodman, he's going to show up. No one needs to talk to him. Like, just don't try to get in his head. You're not going to convince him about anything, but he's going to get 20 rebounds. He's going to play solid defense, and then he's going to go do a bunch of effed up stuff until you play again. But he'll be there. He's going to do what he's going to do. Ben Simmons is almost the exact opposite. No one has any idea what the guy's going to do, and I can't imagine. Like, I'm not in his head, so he may have actual severe mental issues, and apparently he does. But having mental issues that are like will cost you $25 to $40 million a year,
it's crazy.
It's a really, really like difficult place to be.
You can't do this 5 years old, right? So these NBA guys, this is their window. Like, that's it. Where guys like us, I'm 40. I hope I'm going to make more money when I'm 45. I'll probably make more money when I'm 50. I can keep, that's just the normal stage of the game.
Yeah.
For these guys, it's like make. And then now I'm doing interviews and signing baseball cards. He doesn't have the personality to be on TV. No one's going to read his book. I don't know what he does next. Like he hangs around the gym and tells war stories, but this is when you can make generational wealth and you're going to blow it. Because, and at the end of the day, it comes down to you didn't like taking the blame for not dunking in a playoff game. This all stemmed from one play when he didn't dunk and he should have, and he took the blame. And that was the first time that he didn't get his ass kissed by the organization. He didn't know how to handle it. It drove him crazy. But right now, it was nothing.
To be fair, the sort of negativity against him was building up that whole series. Like he wasn't doing enough in the fourth quarter, then he wasn't doing enough in the second half. So that was like the last thing. That was like the climax of it all, and like that was a one that you couldn't talk your way out of. And it's like almost like a lesson in modern media and how much the pressure can mount and build if you let it get to you and you don't like change anything or respond to anything, because you didn't. And this is the end to it. It's a really good case study because it wasn't just that one thing. Like it built up over the series. It's really like as I get a little older, I kind of feel bad because none of the stuff's easy, which I get, but none of the stuff you do is easy. None of the stuff I do is easy, but I don't get a $40 million check.
Yeah, but also nobody watches me when I'm at work, So when if I screw up for the course of a year, no one's talking. No one gives a shit, really. Frankly, maybe my wife, and that's probably it. But for him, everything is under a microscope all the time. Here's what happened with him, though. He wanted to be famous, and I'm guilty. I'm one of the guilty people that pushed him. He has a resume he doesn't deserve. He's got 2 All-Star games. Was he really an All-Star this year? Was he really? Or was it we want Ben Simmons, former first-round pick, number 1, to be an All-Star? So we kind of push him in there. And then, you're dating a Kardashian. You're living the high life. You're at the parties.
How is he dating a Kardashian? Like, how does he, he seems so fragile. How does he date a Kardashian and go out in public and like listen to? I can only imagine what people must say if you're involved with one of them. It can't be positive. I guarantee you, he's not hearing positive stuff about his love life. Like he just seems too fragile.
But he wants to be a celebrity, so that comes with it. I think that's easier. I think that kind of stuff is easier for him to handle with his personality than the basketball stuff, because we've been kind of catering to him for 5-6 years now. He's got a massive contract. And I'll tell you, I don't know. You can't, with a guy that's like that in the head, you can't build around him now. So now you're a piece. You're not the franchise player anywhere else anymore, because how can somebody trust you enough?
You can't.
To build around you. And
you can't.
I feel like, Kyrie's in that world too, where you can't.
Exactly.
Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie's a stud when he plays, but if that's your franchise guy and he decides to go flat earth, what are you gonna do? And Simmons, I think, was a piece, and now I was a franchise guy in a lot of GM's minds, and now, you're a guy that has a unique skill set. We'll try and fit you in if you come here.
Yeah, and like that's not max contract money. What you just described for both those guys, that's not max contract money. I was talking to my girlfriend actually yesterday about Kyrie, and like he blew his chances at an extension. So we're gonna find out just how much we're gonna find out a lot about Kyrie as the season goes on. Because it would not surprise me if towards the halfway point, the 3/4 point of the season, all of a sudden he fixed himself. He's all about basketball. That's the only thing that matters to him, because he's trying to trick another organization to sign him for max money, or Brooklyn to extend him. Because this stuff is generational wealth, as you're talking about. And to mess that up, eventually somebody's either got to shake him and beat the crap out of them, and say, your grandchildren's grandchildren could be wealthy if you would just get on the court and play 65 games a year. Mm-hmm. That's all you have to do. And I'm curious to see how it plays out, because this is probably one of the first times in history that much money is at stake, and like mental health is so prominent a topic of discussion. And we have like 2 case studies that are right in front of us.
I think Kyrie and to a lesser extent Simmons thinks that post basketball they're going to be in Hollywood somehow.
No,
Do they think it's that easy?
no.
Like, I think in their head, if I'm just in LA with all these stars, first of all, you don't get invited to the parties anymore when you're not on the A-list anymore.
Yeah.
Like, no one's hanging out with Ben Simmons when he's an ex-NBA player, Ben Simmons. But Kyrie thinks he's gonna go make Uncle Drew movies. He's nuts. Like,
No,
you're not gonna be that. I'm sorry, it's just not.
no. You're going to be a C-list or a D-list guy, and I'm going to sidle up to you, and I'm going to say, hey, Ben, what the F happened?
Yeah.
You were 20, how old is he? 24, 26, whatever it is. You were in the prime of your career, and now you're like the bottom left on Hollywood Squares, and still nobody knows who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was talking to my girlfriend. Like, nobody cares what Kyrie has to say right now.
Yeah.
Until he's on a basketball court, nobody's going to care. Unless he becomes Joe Biden's son and sells paintings, nobody is going to care what they do.
See, that's the problem. These guys are so focused on thinking that they're the brand without understanding what the brand does. Like, yeah, okay, you're the brand. Okay, well, Taco Bell's a brand. They sell tacos. You're Kyrie. You're the brand. You're in basketball. Taco Bell can't just decide tomorrow they're going to go sell freaking cars because the brand doesn't go. You're Kyrie basketball player. You have to do what you do within the brand. And they got this mogul thing in their head. They all think that they're running these empires. No, you're a basketball player who made a lot of money. You want to go open a bunch of Burger King franchises, be my guest. But the money is going to come from this time of your life right now when you're, one of the top 10 at something in the world. Because you're not going to be the top 10 at two things in the world. That's impossible.
Yeah, and if you're absolutely amazing, you're crazy, charismatic, and talented, okay, but how often does that happen? Like, LeBron only had the role in Space Jam because he's LeBron, and it was universally panned. Like, LeBron's not going to be, and I don't know if he has these aspirations. I'm not knocking the guy, but he's not going to be a dramatic actor. No. He's not going to be an actor. So if you're Kyrie or you're Ben Simmons, unless you all of a sudden become an actor, we're never going to hear from you again, and we're not going to miss you either. Like, we have no memory. We are not going to miss you. Like, bye. No. Remember Ben Simmons? No.
You'll show up on some list. That we run through about top point guards of the 2010s.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 8. Oh, Ben Simmons. Remember a couple good years. Here's what LeBron's going to do, because LeBron has ridiculous amounts of money. He can be in like some kind of Magic Johnson role, where he'll have ownership stakes in this team and ownership stakes. And I mean, LeBron's about to be a billionaire. Ben Simmons doesn't have that kind of money. Like, he's not going to go buy 5% of a pro Major League Baseball team. It's not in the cards for him. And he's got to get on the court and play. But no one wants him, to answer your original question. No one wants him.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's see, what time is it? All right. So just to kind of move things along a little bit. It is Veterans Day, and it is Thursday. And Thursday is going to be our kind of lighter night, going forward. Because Monday night we talk about which teams are going up, which teams are going down. We talk about fantasy players you maybe want to trade for, some rookies you want to look at, some guys you want to dump, all that kind of stuff. We kind of get into some numbers. But Thursday night's going to be big picture things, themes, news topics like the Jokic brothers, like Ben Simmons. But since it is Veterans Day, I wanted to bring up a couple of names of players that served in the military. And I was a little bit, I won't say ruthless, but I went through the list a little bit. And what I really wanted to focus on was players that were in the military before they were in the NBA. So not like someone that played 3-4 years in the NBA, then retired, and then joined the armed services. I don't have anything against that, and I have only admiration and respect and gratitude for that. But I want to talk a little bit about guys that were in the service before they played in the NBA. And as you look for players like that, I found out very quickly there's not a lot of them. Like, if you do this for baseball, we could probably find 10 baseball Hall of Famers that served in the military. And Ted Williams, you got Christy Madison, you can go like on and on and on. And then you look for the NBA, and you really don't have that many players. And I was a little, I don't say concerned. I started thinking about it, and it kind of makes sense. Like if you missed a couple of years of baseball, baseball is not as much of a twitch game. You're not running fast and like jumping high as much as you are in basketball. And the same thing is true for football. Football, you have, Ryder Staubach, you have Pat Tillman, but he did it. He left the NFL to go to Special Forces. And football and basketball are kind of closer than I would say baseball is in terms of like twitch and really needing to be at the top of your physical peak in order to play, especially in the 40s and 50s. I bet right now, Coach, you are probably in better shape than Babe Ruth was ever in. I would, bet that.
Most likely, well, don't forget this though. Baseball's an older game, so a lot of the guys served in the military because we were at war.
Yeah,
baseball was around during World War I and World War II. So NBA, the NBA didn't really reach prominence until the wars were done, right? So the only guys from the NBA who are going to have done service time are going to be guys that elected to do so, and not guys elected to do so as in after high school I want to join the service, whereas the baseball guys were at war and went to go do it for their country.
Yeah.
So you got a guy like Ted Williams, like he felt, I'm sure it wasn't in the cards for those guys in their life's plan to say, you know what, in the middle of my baseball career, I'm going to go fly some bombers in overseas. But when the country's at war, that's what called a whole bunch of them to go do that. And unbelievable that they did. Because I have a lot of questions. If we went to war right now, how, if anybody in our professional athlete world right now, outside of like maybe some guys in the NFL, I don't see NBA guys would be lining up to go put it on the line for the country. Like it was just a different time in America back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a existential conflict. Like if we don't win this, we don't exist anymore. And that's not the way any conflict recently has been. So, so I don't blame the guys. It's just, that's just history. It's just like the way it played out. But
of course now if we have an existential conflict with China, China is paying through Nike almost all of our athletes. So I wonder if they would join, but I don't know which army they would join.
Yeah,
I wonder which army. Yeah. Like where would LeBron go? Like I could see him in red. I could see him in red all day.
Oh yeah, we're actually gonna do. I have a couple of topics on that I want to talk about. So we're gonna do it on a later Thursday show. But tonight, tonight we're gonna focus on the vets. So I put together a list of 6 or 7 guys, mostly players, and one coach that served. And first one, Elgin Baylor. Everyone knows who Elgin Baylor is, and this is not a ranking. This is just kind of guys that Coach and I could talk about like that. Maybe we haven't seen all of them play, but at least we know their impact. And Elgin Baylor is an easy one, and he served in U.S. Army Reserves as a player with the Lakers during his 4th year, and he couldn't attend practices. He could only play weekend games when he received a pass. So when he received a pass off base, and he still averaged 38 points, 18 rebounds, and 4 assists in his 4th year in the NBA. I mean, Elgin Baylor is just like, you can't define the guy. Like when I see him, or when you see him sitting in the stands, and so we'll point out like, there's Elgin Baylor. He didn't look like a complete badass. He just looked like kind of an older guy, and the hair slightly curly, gray. And like, oh yeah, that's Elgin Baylor. But absolutely phenomenal, amazing basketball talent, and he served in the military. So
yeah, I mean, he's like the guy that there's not a lot of footage of him, at least not a lot that I've seen.
Yeah,
you can't find a top 10 list without Elgin Baylor on it. And a lot of kids, I mean, he'll start sliding off as the newer media members start to reorganize history as they see fit. But like, he's on every list. Like Elgin Baylor's a legend. Terrible GM, but imagine the talent level to be able to be in the reserves, ask for leave, so you don't even know. You're not even working out for Saturday's game because you don't even know if they're going to let you go or not. And then you're going to show up and average 40. Like
How do
that's about the NBA, but that also says a lot about like the talent level.
how do you average 38 and 18? 38 and 18. Like,
Different game, impressive nonetheless.
Yeah. So, so I want to start with him because he's the obvious one. Next couple guys I never heard of, but we just want to give credit where credit is due. Mike Stillman. So apparently he graduated from West Point. He's the only NBA player to graduate from West Point, and I can't believe I can't actually believe that. I didn't verify it. I'm just going by the story I read. So apparently Mike Stillman, only NBA player to graduate from West Point. He got drafted at 66 by the Knicks. Instead, he went to become the captain of the 68 U.S. Olympic basketball team, won a gold medal, and he only ended up playing one season in the NBA. But, all I want to do is just read the stats. Unless, unfortunately, Brother Ray isn't here because he probably knew Mike Stillman firsthand. So we can't, get a real handle on his game, but I did want to acknowledge him.
So when I get into this kind of thing with a guy who I don't know, and you just read the three facts that we know, right, are that he graduated West Point, he decided not to go to the NBA, but to stay an amateur and go compete in the Olympics, and then he got a cup of coffee in the NBA. I just want to know what the guy did with the rest of his life, because you feel like anybody who has those three things, I would bet any amount of money he's been successful in whatever he did, and his family is like wonderful. Like that just seems like a guy that has the shit together, because that's like boom, 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 and that's before the age of like 25 years old. So I don't know. He could be walking by me right now. I wouldn't know what he is, but I'm going to learn more about this guy because that just has the foundation of like a good American story. Yeah,
exactly. That's a much better way of putting it. You're right, because he probably had his head square on his shoulders. He probably didn't end up as a derelict somewhere. He's probably got a very good story. All right, yeah, that's good. All right, so you have homework, Coach. So on a show somewhere down the line, we want to know Mike Stillman and his descendants. Where do they end up?
How they doing? Right.
Yeah. All right, so next guy on the list, George Yardley. So apparently he was All-America twice at Stanford. He was drafted by Brother Ray apparently at the Fort Wayne Pistons, but instead he did 2 years in the Navy, and then he came back, started a stellar NBA career in '53, and 1957 was the Nationals, but he broke numerous records. He was the first NBA player to score 2,000 points in a season, and he kind of brought a little bit of the air assault, to the game. And you look this guy up. He was George Yardley's 6'5" forward. He was six-time All-Star. He led the league in scoring at 57-58, two-time All-NBA. So legit guy. Again, we've never seen film about him. He's not on the All-NBA 75, All-NBA 50, whatever. We're just giving him credit for a good career and being a very, very good scorer.
Well, he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm.
Oh, he is. Yeah, Yardley's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. All right, good. Okay.
Again. In a quick read, it's funny because you look at the guy, you're going to see a picture of this guy. Like
I love a picture of this guy. His ears are bigger than mine. I love it.
Like, you're going to have a good time if you're hanging out with this guy. And he was born in Hollywood. He spent his whole life living in California. This guy looks like a cool dude. And then on his Wikipedia page, they basically said he was a showman, right? So he's like a show off. He never did anything without flair. So I feel like this was probably one of the personalities of the NBA in the era where Fort Wayne was a big enough city to have a team. So that's cool. And then you got to appreciate a guy that goes to Stanford, because that was before Stanford turned into a bastion of liberalism. That was when Stanford was actually giving educations, and then he did that and went to the service and then went to war. So these guys from that era, like it's really cool to see. I wish I knew more about both of the last two guys.
Yeah, and like you look at 57-58 for Detroit, he averaged 27.8 points a game, and you saw just what he looked like, and you read a little bit about his personality. That would have probably been a phenomenal year to hang around Bird. George Bird Yardley. 28 points. I love it. All right, so I'm going to skip a couple of guys just because we're running short on time. Actually, I'm not going to skip them. I don't want to. Bernard James, this is like one of the few modern era guys. He was a center for Dallas from 2013 to 2015. He never played basketball until he joined the Air Force. He enlisted in the Air Force when he was 17. He did time, and I don't say he did time. He served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Qatar. And someone noticed him at an Armed Forces All-Star game, and he actually made it into the NBA. He played for the Mavs for parts of 2 or 3 seasons. And that was that. But I think it's actually a very, very good story. So Bernard James of the Mavs, I looked at his stats, nothing, crazy, but just hey, thank you and a acknowledgement.
I went to the movies today and saw Clifford the Big Red Dog. Highly recommend. 2 thumbs up. They had the preview for the movie they're doing about Kurt Warner, and it looks like it's going to be good. They're doing a movie about Kurt Warner. It looks like it's going to be like real good. Like the actor looks just like him. It's like an American Underdog or something like that. So with that in mind, this guy, Bernard James, he got drafted in the NBA at an age where most guys are like on the way out of the league.
Yeah.
Like, he was 28 years old when he got drafted. Like this guy's career path. Now, obviously they won't do this movie because he didn't win a Super Bowl, but his career and the amount of never playing basketball coming from Georgia, makes sense. His career doesn't make sense. And it would be a hell of a story. I'm sure this would make a good movie, the Bernard James movie. So, yeah. And I actually know a lot about his story because he's kind of like, he's only a couple years younger than us. Well, younger than me. So we know Bernard James and good dude.
Imagine he never played basketball at all until he was in the armed services. Like that's the part where everyone talks about genius, and there's like genius in so many different ways. He was obviously kinesthetically and physically a freaking genius to pick up the game of basketball at an age where you should have been playing it for 6 to 10 years, and to be good enough that you get NBA attention and make it into the NBA. And that stuff blows my mind.
What's crazy to me is because he's 6'10". I can only presume he was the tallest kid at his middle school. I mean, maybe he grew late. I don't know that, but this isn't 1918. This is like, this guy's playing in the freaking 2000s. No one told this kid to pick up a basketball when you're the tallest kid in your, I mean, the tallest kid in my middle school was like 5'8", but he was the center. Like, oh, you got to go play basketball because you're the tall kid. Like, no one told this dude as he sprouted up over 6 feet before puberty. Like, hey man, you might want to go out for the team in high school. No, that didn't happen.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Makes complete sense. All right. So the last two. This one's going to be, I don't want to say controversial, but Bill Bradley. So he served in the military, ended up on the Knicks, won a couple of championships. There were some very, very, very good teams. Ended up in the Hall of Fame. Did not make the NBA 75 or NBA 50, as far as I can tell. One-time All-Star, one-time All-Star, 2-time NBA champ. I'm a little surprised that Bradley made the Hall of Fame. I have to be honest. Like, he played from 68 to 76, 77. He never averaged more than 16 points a game. I don't know. I don't want to be like slamming this guy. Like, it is veterans that he is a veteran, and obviously like that all goes unsaid. But you have any thoughts on Bradley?
When I got inducted to a Hall of Fame, in the college I played at, and in my class was a guy who never played sports at the school or coached a sport, but he was like one of our famous alumni, and probably Bill Bradley's in the Hall of Fame because by the time he was getting ready to be inducted, he was like already an American hero in like a different
senator.
I mean, here's a guy who went to Princeton. He's a Rhodes Scholar. I mean, he's done it all. Like, the only thing he didn't do is become an astronaut on the side. Like if you read this guy's resume, and sometimes a guy like that into the Hall of Fame as a representative of the league, and because he's a powerful guy that you want to score points with. And I feel like that because he was like the 5th best player on his team. Like Dave DeBusschere was better than him, you know, and DeBusschere wasn't even that good. So yeah, he played on a couple of good teams, but he's not. No, he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. But again, he's in the Hall of Fame because he's probably the poster boy for like he probably has the best off the court resume of any guy who ever played in the NBA.
Oh yeah, he's a senator. He ran for president. Yeah. Well, we'll see what like LeBron will probably destroy all those records. All right. Okay. Cool. So we're in agreement there. All right. So last two we're gonna do together, and they shouldn't really be done completely together because there's not 100% overlap. But we got Coach Popovich. You and I are kind of on not that impressed or invested in him now, but there was a time where I thought he was like the Belichick of basketball. He's coached Spurs for several years. U.S. basketball, they won a gold, blah, blah, blah. I don't like his politics, his wokeness. I don't like that anymore, but he did serve. And, for that's purpose of tonight's show. We acknowledge it, admire it, and are grateful for it. So that's Coach Pop, but I'm going to do it slightly together with David Robinson, the Admiral. So he, wanted to be in the Navy. He went into the Naval Academy. He just got a waiver because he was too tall when he went in. He was 6'8". When he graduated, he was 7'1". I still remember seeing Sports Illustrated covers of him like playing basketball for the U.S. Naval Academy, which is absolutely unbelievable. He won a bunch of awards in college. He was drafted by the Spurs, 10-time All-Star, won 2 NBA championships. He was on the Dream Team. He was on NBA 50. He's on NBA 75. So maybe let's talk a little bit about David Robinson, and then we'll talk about Pop and how it all worked together. But the first thing I'm going to say is when I think David Robinson, and like this was a time I was watching basketball, he seemed to play a very like, how do I say this? Is like clean, almost non-confrontational, like very technically perfect brand of basketball for a center. Like,
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It could be wrong. You tell me I'm wrong, but
that's probably a good way. When I was growing up, to me, like David Robinson was the perfect man. Like just all around, like he's the perfect clean cut haircut, the perfect physique with not an ounce of body fat.
Yeah.
The Naval Academy, like David Robinson's the kind of guy that like probably never stepped a waiter in his life. That probably holds the door. Like he returns his shopping cart. Like David Robinson is like a perfect role model. And they say athletes shouldn't be role models. If David Robinson is your role model, that's a good role model. Like I like everything about David Robinson. And then his son, he parents a child who ends up playing for Notre Dame, which is it's still one of the colleges that you have to actually qualify to get into. So David Robinson, awesome as a player. One year, I mean, David Robinson could score. Like one year, he had like a 6-point game or a 70-point game or something dumb like that.
No, he had, and I'm going by memory because I didn't look this up, but I know in 93, 94, he led the NBA in scoring at 29.8, and to make sure that he got that scoring title, he scored 81 points. This is my memory, 81 points. And I knew it was all fed to him and like all that stuff, but an 81-point game,
doesn't matter. You still got to do it. And then he had a quadruple double on his resume. Like David Robinson filled stat sheets forever. And when Robinson was with Rodman, I don't know how those two guys. I'd love to hear them talk to each other. But those were good teams, and they didn't win the championship, but they were like number 1 seeds. Robinson just fell into an era with Ewing, Olajuwon, a little bit of Shaq. Like that was a tough era for centers, but he had a perimeter game. He was chiseled like all hell. He was fast. Like this, David Robinson was probably. Elgin Baylor, they'll say he's the best player on this list, but David Robinson's the best player on this list.
Yeah. See, he was almost like too perfect
because he's such a class act.
Yeah.
Yes, he's such a class act that he gets hurt. They draft Duncan, and unlike every NFL quarterback, when they draft the quarterback, David Robinson was like, awesome. You can learn from me, and I'm going to help you become a Hall of Famer too. Yeah. Like, go team. Like, that's just such a David Robinson thing. Whereas every other guy gets drafted and is like, oh, you drafted my replacement. This is bullshit. No, not David Robinson. Nope.
Yeah, and that's when he won his 2 championships. Because to prep for the show, I figured the most on that list, the only one we've actually seen play is David Robinson. So I went into it. I'm like, okay, so Robinson played from X to Y. When did he win his 2 championships? They were very much toward the end. Like Pop came in, started coaching at the second half of Robinson's career, and then Duncan came in at the final quarter of Robinson's career, and that's when he got his 2 titles. And it's like everything you said, like he wasn't trying to like keep Duncan on the bench or ostracize him or anything, or like resist Pop because it was his team. He just went along with it all, and he got his 2 championships. Now, do you think like he was NBA top 50? And again, obviously, once you're in top 50, your grandfather is top 75. Like, does he fit that?
Yeah. So he really had 2 careers. He had the career before he got hurt, and then the career after he got hurt. The career before he got hurt, he's top 5 player in the NBA. Like, you couldn't even use him in NBA Live. People would get mad because it was like I was like, yo, you can't be the Spurs because you would just feed him the ball and no one could stop him. So yes, and then he got hurt. That's what allowed them to draft Duncan. And then when he came back, he was a different kind of player now. So now he was like a double-double player. He was like a 14 and 10 guy as opposed to a 25 and 12 guy. So I rank him. I was one of the 5 best players of the 90s. So he's close to one of the top best players in the 90s. He's on the dream team for a reason. Every time they do one of these in our lifetime, I believe, as they do, we'll probably top 150 years NBA. I got another 75 years left, maybe. Yeah. Robinson will always be on the list.
He's ever, yeah. I'm laughing about it, but the truth is, if you are in on the top 50, you're never going to be out. And like top 75 will hopefully not be the case. But I don't know if you've ever seen, we're out of time, but I don't know if you've ever seen like the early best of lists. It's like the top 8 players, the top 13 players, top 20 players. And like, it was so hard. You read those lists and you're like, oh my God, like this is ruthless. Now it's like, let's just keep adding spots to add players. And unfortunately, Dame's a poster child.
We're going to list all the players ever. And then we're going to just find a place where it feels right to draw the line. And we'll say, okay, we got about, there's a little gap here. All right, top 80. Let's do the top 80.
Yeah.
But,
exactly.
I guess that's fine the longer history goes. But what happens is if you do it a different way and we start doing top 20 lists and you go to a sport like baseball or older sport or as basketball gets old, you'll just stop talking about these guys. Like there'll be no reason to talk about Patrick Ewing. If we go down to a top 30 list, we can't talk about Patrick Ewing anymore for you. He's not going to be on it, and you're going to forget him. So
but that's what has to happen because there's some guy in like the 50s that was like almost top flight guy that almost got it done. That like Patrick Ewing, like I will argue Ewing all day because he almost got it done a million times, but he never got it done. And so those guys fade away.
No, I'm sure there's guys like that in every era. I mean, anybody who played in the 50s and 60s that wasn't on the Celtics didn't win shit. Like that. There's just one team won every 11 out of 12 titles, right? So unless you were Bob Pettit and the Hawks, but guys like Robinson and Ewing, if we get to talk about them, every couple of years or for whatever reason, it's a good use of time.
Well, Robinson, like he's on the NBA 50, he's on the NBA 75. He's got 2 titles. Ewing is like a real chance. Like he eventually fades away. And I said this once to Brother Ray, and it was a mistake on my part, and I'm not going to do it again for years. But I said Embiid has that kind of Ewing vibe to me, and he exploded. He was not like not happy to hear about it, and I could very much be wrong, but if they don't win it,
he has ways to go to Patrick Ewing.
What?
Like Ewing's better than Embiid.
Oh, he would kill you. He would kill you.
I would make that trade all. I would make that trade all day. Oh yeah, Patrick Ewing was special.
Wow. All right.
Anyway, that was
All
good.
right, so-
That was a good way to spend Veterans Day. I'm glad you decided to go in that direction tonight. That was awesome.
Yeah, I figured like the for the people watching, the way the show's gonna go is Monday's gonna be like the hardcore night, talk about like teams going up, teams going down, recent games, all that kind of stuff. Players you should be looking to pick up, players you should be looking to dump. And then Thursday we're gonna keep it a little bit lighter, but big picture topics. Tonight was veterans, but Coach, I want to talk to you a lot about how do you put together a championship team? And we're like, maybe we pick a team and we say, okay, look, you're the Kings. What do you do? And like we'll talk about it ahead of time, but like I want Thursdays like big picture. Yeah. So with all that said, any final words from Coach CJ?
Yeah, Patrick Ewing 39 minutes a game when he was 27. 39. Joel Embiid can't play 39 minutes a week, or else we got to sit him for a game of rest. Take that, Brother Ray. Go Sixers, though.
All right. For the genius, for Coach TJ, we are wrapping up Legit Fantasy Basketball, brought to you by Legit Fantasy Sports. Our next show is coming up Sunday morning, 11 a.m., Legit Fantasy Football. We'll do a preview of all Week 10's games. Sunday night, Legit Paranormal, and then we'll start all again for the following week. We are signing off on Thursday night, November 11, 2021. Happy Veterans Day. I hope all the veterans enjoyed it. I hope everyone is supporting veterans. Like from this show, all it is support and admiration. And thanks.